AM 1460, the new WXBR. You're listening to the Metro South Morning Show. Peter Czymbor, Mike Paiva here with you on this Monday morning. Hashtag PM in the AM if you wish to opine on anything in which we are discussing on Twitter, and we urge you to follow along at WXBR 1460, at Peter Czymbor, at Not Mike Paiva. If you don't know how to spell our last names, which we don't expect you to, we'll just throw them on the official WXBR 1460 Twitter page so you can find us. One thing that we discussed last week that we were wanting to do this week, and which we are going to do, is bridge the past with the present as we look towards the future here on the new WXBR and the Metro South Morning Show in particular. And Mike, you and I are not the first to have metaphorically donned the mask of being morning show hosts here on WXBR. As a matter of fact, in just a few moments, we're going to be chatting with the man who was the very first morning host of WXBR once WBET became WXBR. And you and I, Mike, want to pay our respects to those who came before us.
That is true, and you make it sound like it's a memorial, but we are in fact celebrating the fact that we have this wonderful gentleman in studio with us this morning.
Well, in studio with us right now, former WXBR morning show host. This is the first time in nearly 5 years his voice has been heard live over the airwaves of AM 1460, Mr. Steve Mason. Steve, good morning.
When are the calling hours? Just to say.
Did that sound like a eulogy?
Yeah, well...
that was not my intention.
No, I'm teasing you. Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you, Steve.
Congratulations. How is it getting up at 4 a.m? You like it?
We're just getting used to it. You know?
And that is a long process.
I feel like over the weekend, waking up at about 7:45, 8 a.m. was a good start because I've now realized that sleeping until 7:45 is sleeping in on the weekends.
It's like sleeping until noon.
Yeah, that's what it's like when you're a morning show host.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many years did you do that for?
The morning show, about 4.5 years.
And even prior to that, you were a fill-in guy here and there at WBET.
Well, 1984 to 1996, I did afternoon drive at the old WBET. We were the old, the old 1460. We were one of the last stations in the area to actually play music, old vinyl records, way back in the day. Left in 96. There was another ownership change at that time. Did about 12 years of afternoon drive, and from 96 to 01 made a couple of other pit stops along the way. 01 to 04, Charlie's last 3 years behind the microphone. We were the prime fill-in guy. Came back in 04 when Charlie left after 21 years. You guys have a ways to go before you catch up to Bergeron.
Yeah, I don't think that Mike and I will be catching up to Charlie Bergeron anytime soon, if ever. But Charlie Bergeron, certainly a legend in these parts as well for the many years he put into the morning program at the old WBET on 1460.
It's only, to the best of my knowledge, the station's going to be about 70 years old in about 2-3 years, right? We first went on the air in 1946. To my knowledge, there are only 4 guys, if I'm not mistaken, that did more than 4 years in the morning. One of them was Doc Jones, who you guys are too young to remember. I just turned 50 this year. Anyone who's 50 or older will remember Doc Jones in the morning, and everybody gets a half a pint of milk on the school lunch menus. Charlie did 21 years from the early 80s to about 2004. Between Doc Jones and Charlie, there was a guy named Bill Hess, who a lot of people locally will probably remember too. Bill is... BET was kind of the first stop for him. He's been at a bunch of other stations. He's now a program director at a big talk station in Washington, WMAL. He's been in radio about 35 years. And then I did 4.5 years, starting in the middle of 04 when Charlie left to the end of 08.
See, this is why we have you here on the program, because when we're trying to bridge the past with the present, you're a historian of WXBR radio, seemingly.
Well, you're around for a while. You just you learn these things. You meet a lot of people and experience a lot of things. And it was a pleasure to be behind the microphone all of those years. And it's nice to see you guys picking up the torch here. And the studios are beautiful. This is top-notch stuff. Now, back on 60 Main Street when I was your age, when I was a younger guy, I mean, you guys remember the station kind of in the final years when it kind of,
Yes, we do.
unfortunately, and I was there too for a long time there at the end where things kind of lapsed into a state of disrepair, unfortunately. But this is all the bells and whistles here. This is very nice. So enjoy your toys.
Yeah, as WXBR moved its studios from the old WXBR at 60 Main Street to the new studios here at 250 Belmont Street, as we enter week 2 of the Metro South Morning Show, Mike and myself here on WXBR. On day 1 of this program, him and I joked that the old station was held together with bubblegum and clarinet reeds towards the end, and that coming to this new studio was like the scene in The Wizard of Oz where it goes from black and white to color. Oh my God, the phones are working. We have a mixing board where the knobs aren't falling off. This is incredible.
And in fact, the only thing from 60 Main Street that has made it here today is the microphone that I am currently speaking.
Is that
on
your
right
mic?
now.
I thought that looked familiar. Yep. Mm-hmm. Where's the old Air Studio board from 60 Main? Is that now a boat anchor or something? Because that thing was like World War I surplus.
I believe they had to get a dump truck to haul that thing out. No, that's not true. I believe that.
That thing belongs in a museum.
I was just going to say, I believe that there is being held to be put in some sort of museum, which is going to be
we all from Doc Jones on down, we all used that air console. We all used that board, and that was actually held together with Scotch tape and and bubble gum.
And knobs were falling off towards the end.
Yeah. No, you had to learn how to kind of jimmy stuff around and kind of learn all the tricks when the equipment started to go south there. But yeah, this is beautiful. Enjoy your new surroundings here. Nice, good stuff. High class surroundings here.
Once again, we're chatting with former WXBR Morning Show host Steve Mason here on the Metro South Morning program, here with Peter Czymbor and Mike Paiva. Steve, I think one of the best testaments to how much people enjoyed your morning show here at WXBR is when you left the morning program. There was an article about you on the Enterprise, which also appeared on enterprisenews.com. In this day and age, people are much more likely to comment on an article on the internet as opposed to actually write a letter to the editor. And there was about a dozen or so comments underneath that article, and every single one of them missed your presence in the morning show and was not happy to see you leaving.
Okay, I actually hadn't seen that, but
I'm sure it's archived on enterprisenews.com.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll have to check that out. But I think part of that is probably just due to the fact that I'm a local guy. I mean, I'm lifelong Brockton, and a lot of people just know who I am off the radio too. I'm not someone from town B coming in here to work for 3 or 4 hours in the morning and then you go home. I mean, this is and you too, lifelong Brockton guy, your family,
Mike
people,
as well.
People know you. People exactly. People
born in
know
North
you.
Carolina, but raised in Brockton.
How
right,
long
Mike?
have you been here, Mike?
I was just born in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Just because of
Tax purposes.
Well, you see, my mother was a carny as well, so she was out traveling the roads.
Was she a wrestler?
No, she would do the games at the fair, like the you roll the ball and the horse moves a couple feet.
Because I'm good at guessing like height and weight. So I figured if the radio thing never worked out, we could do that at the.
I'm pretty good at doing age, so we should work something out.
I already told you I was 50, so that's it. So we blew that out of the water. But oh, no kidding. So how old were you when you moved here?
I was like 2, so
Okay,
I was like
okay.
I was already here.
Okay, you're good. You're
Yep.
20 plus years.
20,
You're good. You're good.
He's a lifelong Brockton guy.
You're a local.
You mentioned something just a moment ago that reminds me of a old story about you on the old WBET. You said, I'm not one of those guys that would leave town and go home.
Oh, boy, here we go.
There was a time where you broadcast from home on your front lawn.
Yes, that was an annual occurrence for several years. That was radio now is just all kind of. There's so few local stations left, which is why it's great that you guys are back on the air here. But we did that for several years in the afternoon. The joke was, well, I don't want to go to work. Why doesn't work come to me for a change? And sure enough, they did it. We had, I don't know if you guys remember the old mobile broadcast unit, the old monster van that we used to. Yep.
It was parked in the Brockton Community Cable Television parking lot for years.
Yep.
And at one point, after a Brockton Rock shoot at Campanelli Stadium, we brought the TV production truck back to the station, and upon us coming into the parking lot, some guy kicked open the door of the WBET production van and ran down the street. Apparently, he had been napping or doing something inside the old WBET production truck. When he saw us, he thought we were coming to get him and scrammed.
So he hightailed it.
He hightailed it.
But they brought the van. We were still playing records at the time. We were still playing music. Well, records shows you how ancient I am. But we were playing music at the time. So the van was in the driveway, and I was on a chaise lounge on my front lawn, and they had the boom mic set up right in front of my kisser, just kind of like it is now, talking to you. And I did the show for 4 or 5 hours, just lying in the chaise lounge and not moving a muscle. Had an engineer in the truck playing the music. I had family members bringing me food and drinks. We had listeners stopping by on the front lawn. We had my family in the back grilling.
You didn't mind listeners coming to your home?
No, my family was cooking. My sister, my mom, my dad were out there cooking hamburgers and hot dogs on the family homestead, and we were bringing stuff out to the front, and we were eating hot dogs. It was a party. It was fun. It was a blast. Did a show once from City Hall Plaza, from a makeshift jail. It was a heart fund fundraiser where they the heart fund officials come and quote unquote arrest you, and you have to raise bail in order to get out of jail. So I was in the pokey with Irving Fryer, who was either he was either a
former wide receiver for the New England Patriots, for those who don't remember.
He was either a Patriot or a former Patriot at the time, but he was still playing football. He was still in the NFL. He was in there. A bunch of other local officials were in there. So I couldn't leave the jail till I made, I think it was $500 we had to make bail that day for the Heart Association.
I can't wait for Mike Paiva and myself to have some radio remotes to do here at the new WXBR. We're on week 2 of the show, so we haven't had to do any yet. But the radio remotes I remember Mike and myself doing at the old WXBR, including us broadcasting more or less with a cell phone. And we did one at a town fair in East Bridgewater, I recall, where Mike and I pretty much broadcast from, the bounce house moonwalks they have for children. There was no children inside there, so me and Mike Paiva took it upon ourselves to broadcast inside the bounce house, and we did what we believe to be the first recorded bounce house backflip in WXBR history. Then we did another one at a deli in Bridgewater where,
any remote where they feed you is a good deal. That's a double thumbs up right there. Yes.
And all we did was flirt with the waitresses at this deli till they brought us free food. It was fantastic.
Did they feed you?
They did.
Well, there you go.
We got a lot more out of that bargained for out of that one.
That's a winner. Yeah.
Well, Steve, I know a lot of the folks who are listening right now on AM 1460, the new WXBR, glad to hear your voice, as I've mentioned, might be wondering what you're up to nowadays. You have not left the world of radio. You've recently returned. You do work in local radio.
Well, about a month ago, I started a weekend shift at a big FM station down by where the Pilgrims landed a few hundred years ago. So I think everybody knows where that is. We've been doing that about a month. And actually owe a debt of gratitude to another old WBET alum, Pat Cronin, who is now the morning personality and program director at said station. And he picked me up off the waiver wire about a month or so ago, and it was the first time in about 4 years that I had been on the air. And it's like riding a bike. You get back on there and you get back into the swing of things, and it's great to be back on the air again.
And I'm sure that this is the job in which you prepared for your entire life. This is the job you love. You love being behind the microphone.
This is it. I mean, this is our calling. You guys, the same thing. I know you started here when you were a teenager, and I know you've been doing sports, local cable sports and stuff forever. So this is it's kind of like a disease. It's in your blood. It's in your bloodstream.
Mike, do you have the virus?
Of course.
And it spreads.
I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't.
And no, that's right. Wouldn't be getting up at 4 a.m.
Yes.
And no drug can purge it from your system.
It's like that last line in Hotel California. You can check out any time you'd like, but you may never leave. Sort of like that.
Yeah. Just when I thought I was getting out, they dragged me back in.
It's true.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the new AM 1460 WXBR on this Monday morning. Steve, once broadcast from the front lawn of his house, Mike, you and I have to work on some creative remote broadcasts once we really get kicking here on WXBR. And no more broadcasting on cell phones from moonwalk bounce houses, and hitting on waitresses at delis, though that did work out for us.
That moonwalk bounce house was history. The first time ever anybody broadcast from inside of a bounce house.
And the first ever broadcasted backflip in WXBR history, to our knowledge.
Who
Maybe
did
Doc
that? That
Jones
had
did
to have been Paiva.
That was Mike.
I can't picture you doing it. I certainly can't picture myself doing a backflip. Are you?
I did a front flip and almost landed on my feet, but fell backwards. A backflip, I don't even attempt. That's strictly a Mike Paiva specialty.
Did you get a 10 from the Russian judge?
Yes.
Okay,
I did.
oh, that's good.
Yes, I did. So I think I actually won the gold. He won silver because of the Russians.
It's true. I only got a 9.5.
9.510.
Guys, best of luck, and it's so great to hear you guys. I was listening last week for several mornings, and you guys are sounding good. Keep up the good work. You've got so this is the official passing of the torch here.
Yes.
Good luck, good fortune, and make sure you have a backup alarm clock. Because when the first alarm clock goes gestunk, you want to have Plan B so you don't oversleep.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the new Metro South Morning Show with myself and Mike Paiva. I know a lot of our listeners were fans of yours back in the day, and like I said at the top of the interview, we wanted to bridge the past with the present. As we look towards the future, you're still working on radio. Mike and myself are up every morning here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. I talk to you fairly frequently off the air, but it's been very nice to chat with you on the air once again, as I believe it's been about 5 years since we've done this.
Oh, I had fun. Peter, thank you. Mike, thank you. Good luck, guys.
That's Steve Mason, former morning show host here on AM 1460 WXBR. You're listening to the Metro South Morning program. Peter Czymbor and Mike Paiva will step aside for a quick break. We'll be back after this.